It's the TCTV Training Show. The TCTV Training Show. We'll teach you how to shoot. We'll teach you how to light. Teach you how to mic and edit right. Each second Saturday there's a free training, from programs on display to focusing and framing. It's the TCTV Training Show. The TCTV Training Show. You're watching TCTV. It's the Training Show. The TCTV Training Show. Second Saturdays at 12 o'clock in Studio A.
Hello, my name is Dan Bennett and welcome to Second Saturday Training Show. Today's subject is exciting lighting. And we are going to be covering a whole lot of different aspects about lighting, both studio lighting and field lighting, the use of color and shadow and perspective and all kinds of stuff. So as you can see, we are here in the studio. And as you can also see, there's a bunch of different colored lights right over here. And I'll talk about those in a little bit. But first of all, when we teach the studio class, we teach two important things about lighting that everyone needs to know and everyone needs to at least use and become familiar with before they start trying different things when it comes to lighting. There's a little thing, it's a long-standing thing. It's been used in photography, painting, television and movies, theater for years and years and years and years and years, and it's called three-point lighting. Essentially, humans grew up in the world and there's one great big light outside most of the time. Unless you're in Washington, then there's clouds. But for the most part, there's a big giant light called the sun, and it has a particular color and a particular brightness. And it creates a shadow that's very sharp. There's also sky and clouds. And if you've ever seen pictures of someone in space, there is the sun and there's a distinct shadow, but there's very, very little light otherwise. If you look at astronauts floating around the space station, you'll notice that there is a very, very sharp contrast in the lighting. There is the light that reflects off the earth that backlights things, and you get a little bit of lighting on the side and from behind and this sort of thing. But for the most part, on the ground, we have three sources of lighting. We have the main source of lighting, which in theater and television and film is called the key light. And I won't go into the history of why it's called a key light, but it's the primary brightest source. And when you're casting light in a studio or on stage or anywhere else, you want a single bright source. And so we'll call it that one right there. And that's the brightest source. And so that particular light is going to illuminate this side of me for the most part. We have a second light that is called a fill light. And the fill light fills in the shadows. And you can tell that the fill light is working because I don't have this stark darkness on this side. Now, if the camera over here or over here is looking directly at me, all that's going to be lit up is everything that this light and that light over there lights up. It won't light up the back of me, it won't light up the top of my head, it won't light up any other areas except where the light hits. And so we throw a backlight on. Now when you're in the field, this can be tricky because you can create a single key light, a bright light, when let's say you're doing a cooking show and you're gonna make an omelet. So what you want is, we have these light kits over here and you can check them out if you've taken the class for them, that you're shown how to use them. And so you set up one of the lights over here and you light things up, and you have a second light and you light things up. But getting a backlight is pretty difficult. And one of the important things is kitchens will often have lights. Some will have fluorescent lights, some will have incandescent lights, some will have the CFL lights or possibly the new LED lights. And they're going to be a particular color temperature. These lights in the studio, the lights for all of the field lighting kits are all the same color temperature. They're all 3,300 degrees. Now, when you look at the light bulbs over here, you can see that this one is kind of on the yellow end of things. And that's about what we see the sun as. And it's a warm light. Melanin is the pigment in all of our skin. Some of us have more, some of us have less, but it's all the same color. And that particular color right there, 3,300 degrees, makes us look warm and alive and healthy. If you go to these other colors, 7,000 degrees, 9,000 degrees, 10,000 degrees, the light becomes closer to the bluer end of the spectrum, and it brings out the green tones in our skin, like our veins. And if we have any yellow in our skin color, then that's going to show up as green, and we look unhealthy. And I've got a bunch of lights over here that I'll see if I can't do a reasonably good demonstration of things of why we don't want to use that particular color unless we're doing it for effect. So we've got this 3-point lighting. Now sometimes in the studio you want to use 5-point lighting. And this is essentially a key light in the center, 2 fill lights on the sides, and 2 backlights, because you're going to have 3 or 4 different people and they are facing in different directions, and you want to make sure that they are all well lit evenly and have a good strong key light source and a good strong fill source and a good strong backlight source. So if there were a group of us, we'd have a backlight over here and a backlight over there, and the key light would probably be right in the center of everyone, and then the fill lights would be over here and here. Now, you can always do variations of this. If you're filming in your kitchen and you've got a great big kitchen window and it's providing a great deal of light, you can use that as a key light, and then it may light up areas in your kitchen sufficiently that it provides enough backlight that works. But your fluorescent lights will make you appear green, so you want to avoid fluorescent lights. And the idea is that the color temperature of lights that are already installed in your house may or may not be the color temperature that you like, and it may throw off things. So using our light kits, they are all the same color temperature. They have a specific, they're very bright, and they can be moved around, and they can be lifted way high or down low. They can create effects and that sort of thing. So let's see. Okay. Sharp versus soft lighting. Now all of these lights that are lighting me up have diffusion in them. And I forgot to bring diffusion with me, but this little parasol will work as diffusion fairly well. Now, if I put this over top of me, you can see that I'm still lit up, but it's really soft. It's nice soft lighting. And as I twirl it around, it makes no difference, but it's fun to do. So this umbrella, or this parasol, comes with the light kits. We usually throw in 2 of them. And this way, what you can do is, I will go around to one of these lights. They have a little holder that the parasol goes in front of, and it diffuses the light a great deal. So I'm not going to use this particular parasol, but I am going to go over here and show you a few things. Okay, as you can see, it's very dark back here, and this is purposely so. And the idea is that I have a whole bunch of different lights that I want to show, and it needs to be dark for me to do that. So the first thing I did was I turned on this light over here, and I get this overhead light effect. Now you can use this when you're doing shows if you want to show an interrogation. If you want some stark lighting, there's diffusion in it, I think. No, maybe not. Yeah. Oh, here's the rule. Don't stare at the lights. You'll see spots before your eyes. And usually this is the case with me, but it's because I haven't cleaned my glasses. Anyway, so I've got this stark contrasty light. And it's really good for effects. It's really good if you want to show someone in silhouette. And if I move back a little bit, it becomes a little better. And I have to do this. So you can do a lot of things with this, but I wanted this here to demonstrate what that is like. If you were doing a monster movie, this might work. If you're doing something avant-garde where you're trying to show an evil figure, some sort of a bad person, that sort of thing, this would work pretty good. Let's see. Now, if I turn on this field light over here, you'll see that I'm lit up much better. It's fairly bright, but you've got this stark contrast. And as I was saying before, without a fill light, you've got this very, very strong light source. And even though I have diffusion on it, it still casts strong shadows on this side. And it can be useful if you're doing a thing, depending on what you're doing. The other thing that's important to note is I've got a shadow. People don't realize that you can use lighting for the shadow's sake and not necessarily for the lighting's sake. Shadows can be very effective if you are trying to do an effect such as horror movies. Like if the character were over here by that camera and you have a shadow reaching for them, or if you have branches blowing in the wind, the next time you watch a movie, try and pay attention to the shadows, especially if it's a horror flick of some kind or a suspense thriller, psychological thriller. Good directors love to use shadows because shadows are dark things that either something is hiding in or potentially hiding in, or it's meant to convey mystery or a sense of anxiety. So I've got this good shadow going on here and I've got this light, but I need a fill light. Now I've got these two lights over here and they don't have diffusion in them, but I have colored gels. We have the rainbow of colored gels here, and when you take out a light, you can get all kinds of different colors for your field lights. One of the most common colors, because these lights are 3,300 degrees, you can get this color. It's called bastard amber. Now, I love the name, but it's a very, very, this particular color right here is bastard amber, and it's a very, very light orange. And this creates the color of firelight or an incandescent bulb or a candle. So if you're doing something really warm, if you are doing a cozy shot and someone is doing a show and they're talking to the camera and you have soft, gentle music going on in the background and you're wanting to convey a sense of comfort and relaxation and that sort of thing, this is absolutely the color gel that you want to use. So we'll turn this on and I'll turn this up a little bit. There we go. And we've got me lit up here. Now, I've got a real strong shadow there, and this is very, very bright, but it's definitely got the color that we want. And I inadvertently looked at the light, so I can't see me right now, but I'm lit up really well. I'm lit up from above, I'm lit up from the side with this particular color, and I've got this warm light on me casting, filling in any shadows. And it's fairly diffuse. These little lights are really cool because you've got a little spot. If I shine this, if you can see this on the wall here, it's got a little knob on it that you can create a flood, or you can get it up close to the lens and it makes more of a spot. So if we make this a flood, what that does is that spreads the light out, A, so it's not as bright, and B, so it covers a wider area. It covers more of me. And so now I look a little bit less, as we say in television land, hot. When you say, yeah, I'm not as hot, unfortunately. Anyway, the idea is that you can cast too much light on someone, and on television or film or video, you can have someone that's overly lit, and the chips in the cameras are overwhelmed by the high amount of light, and it doesn't look very good at all. Now, if you're doing a sci-fi thriller where your protagonist is on a planet with a giant bright blue sun and they're super bright, then yeah, you definitely want to do kind of overlit kind of stuff. So now I've got this kind of color right here, and I'm happy with that, but I want to make me a little bit more warm. I want me to be, whoops, I didn't do it. Okay, so we will make sure that this is nice and diffuse. And now I sit down and things look a little different. I look a little healthier maybe. Maybe we're going to have a fireside chat and talk about, well, omelets, you know, because it's a cooking show. And I talk about sauteing the onions and the mushrooms and this sort of thing. Or I'm going to read to you a bedtime story. Or we're going to discuss the humanities, perhaps. Something like that. But your lighting really, really sets the mood. And the warmer it is, the more comfortable we want our audience to be. And it has kind of a warm, fuzzy feel. And you can really see the difference. I'm looking at myself on the monitor, and it does definitely have an effect. So there's this nice warm lighting. Let me go look at my sheet. I'll just leave this here for now. Oh, Rembrandt style. Rembrandt style. Someone mentioned Rembrandt style, and I'd heard about it, but I don't remember much about what the Rembrandt style was. Here, I'm just going to leave this on for now. So Rembrandt style is a single light source with half as much light being cast as a fill. Generally, it's like 100% lighting for the key light and maybe 75% for the fill light, or maybe even a little less than that. But Rembrandt style is a primary light source. It's a soft form of lighting, and you have this kind of dimmer light. Now, let's pretend for a moment that I only have a single source of light, and I don't have the means to get another source of light. I need to create a second source of light to fill in the shadows. So what I'm going to do is find a reflector, something that can reflect the light and cast it back. And Rembrandt style is one of the means for this. You create a nice light source, and you find something that reflects the existing light rather than create a new light source. Well, you're creating a new light source, but it's from the original. In doing this, if your source is the color, here, we're going to use both of these. If your source is essentially white, it's going to reflect everything in the rainbow. It's going to reflect the same color as your light source. If your reflector is pink or a light blue or a light green, or if it's some form of color, it's going to reflect that color back. And so you're going to get different effects with that. So I've got a great big reflector here, and I think this is actually green. Yeah, this one, okay, I'll talk about this in a minute. This one is kind of a different creature. These reflectors are Nido mosquito. And the reason they're Nido mosquito is because you've got not just one, but 3 different kinds of colors that you can use. And it pops out, and you've got white. So now, if I clip this on here, I've got myself a nice reflector. Let's see if I can make this go a little higher. It's as high as it goes. So I've got this reflector right here. And now it's not doing too well. But if I cast it right there, you can see that there's just a little bit of reflection, and it's filling in the shadows cast by this light. Yeah, and if you get a close-up, you can see that I've got this going on. There's a thing called the Rembrandt triangle, and it's this spot where your cheekbone and your eye and your nose meet, and it makes this little triangle. And if you ever look at Rembrandt's paintings, when he does portraits or figures, you'll notice that the lighting is set very, very similar on most of them, because he tried all kinds of different stuff. But you'll always see this triangle going on in some form, some shape, the way he did his lighting. So we've got that. Now, if I decide that I want something a little more warm, I use the gold. And so the gold, as you can see, is going to, yeah, that's in the way of the camera, isn't it? Sorry about that, Andrew. The gold is going to cast a little bit different kind of light. And it's going to give me a warmer appearance. It's not orange, it's more of a yellow color. And this little reflector is super cool because it unzips, and on the other side is silver. So this gives you white, which will cast the same color from your light source. Yeah, I look kind of golden in that, don't I? Wow. Yeah, golden. Anyway, you can do the white, which will reflect the most amount of light, and it will give you a good strong reflectance. The gold, on the other hand, is going to absorb some of the light, so it's not going to be as bright when it comes to reflection, and it's also going to cast a color tone. And I won't take this apart, but all you do is you unzip this and flip it around, and you've got silver on the other side. So you can use a silver as a reflector as opposed to a well, anyway, it's a reflector, and it can be useful. So we've got these. Now, if you take the light and sound class, like we do one class where what we do is we teach camera and tripod and microphones and other stuff like that, and we don't really go into the light kits or a lot of recording stuff, but we have an advanced class that we teach. Or if you take the field camera package, we teach editing and camera, all this stuff. And so you can use all of this stuff and take it with you and use it in one way or another. Okay, I'm going to set this here just because it's so pretty. I love gold. I love the color. Now there's this guy right here, and back in the day when they started using blue screens, what they did is they used a blue screen, and they were using film. And here, I'll stand over here so I'm a little better lit. And the way it worked is when you film something, you use acid washes that add the color to the film. You've got your negative, and then you do different colored washes over it. And they use this blue screen, and the idea was that they would not use one of the colors, which was blue, and it would end up being clear on the film. And then they could put any other color they wanted in the background. They could put other film. They could use the same film and put backgrounds. And so they use blue for film chemistry reasons. But now that we use digital, we can literally tell the computer within the camera or in the editing software to remove any color and make it transparent and put anything we want. And so nowadays we use this color called chroma green. Now the reason we use green is because if you look at the color wheel, green, this particular green is on the precise opposite of the color wheel as melanin, the human skin color. And that way you can have a person talking, because typically people are involved in theater and film and video. And the idea is that you use a color that is not commonly used in things and stuff, clothing, apparel, outdoors. Leaves and trees are not this kind of green at all. Some mosses get close to this, but there's a slight bit of blue in this. Does that make sense? Yeah? Okay. So we use this, and we have this particular, we have this. We've got a giant green wall. We've got green sheets that folks can check out, and those are pretty useful. And you can just pin them up on the wall. And so green screening has been a thing, and they use it more and more and more and more in movies. There's a couple movies, I can't remember the names, that they were done almost exclusively in green screen. Tons of movies, like The Matrix. A lot of the fight scenes were done behind a green screen. So they're really useful. But that's why we use green instead of blue, just because it's on the opposite side of the color wheel. Okay, now, while we're in the studio, there's a nice little thing that you can do. As you can see, we've got these lights lighting me up, and they're all the same color, and they're all nice to look at, but it's kind of boring, right? We've got this great big curtain, and the curtain is NBC gray. It's a neutral gray. It's not reddish or bluish or greenish or yellowish or anything. It's an absolutely neutral color. And so that's all nice. There you go. That's all nice, but it's useful. I know, hello. It's useful for one thing. When people do studio shows, a lot of times what they'll do is they will set their setup. They might have a backdrop. We have some fake ficuses that they'll put in, and it looks all nice and everything, but they really don't take advantage of all these colored gels. Like I said before, we have all of these that fit into these gel holders, and they're every color of the rainbow, everything. And what you can do, and I'm going to walk back here, is you can create all kinds of colored effects on the curtains. Now we can't see this very well. I'm going to turn off this light for now. So here we are. We've got a really pretty slash. One thing that you can do with these curtains is you can pull them tight so that they're flat, and you can cast something on the curtain. We've got these, they're called ellipsoids. Yeah, you got it, Ray. these ellipsoids, and they have a little metal disc with laser cut shapes and objects and stuff in them, and then you throw them in front and you do a little finagling and get it to focus, and then that gives us these upside down notes here. Whoever put the cookie in, put them upside down. So, but we've got a couple over here. You can't really see them very well just because we've got so much light going on. But if we didn't have the key light and the fill light on, you'd be able to see them a little bit better. But one of the nice uses of the colored gels is to do a slash. Essentially, what you do is you throw in a nice colored gel, and you want the color to be consistent with your subject. If you're talking about hard science, then you definitely want cool colors like blues or greens or purples or something like that. Probably not yellow. But we've got this color gel, and if you'll notice up high, it's kind of green, and as it gets down, it gets more bluey. And what happens is when we put them in and we use them, the center of the gel fades over time, and it changes color. And we've got a big pile of them that are green and then blue and then kind of a light blue or a kind of a gray, or they're red, then orange, then kind of pink. So you can take advantage of these gels that have been used many, many times and provide two colors instead of one. And essentially what you do is you take your Fresnel and you close the barn doors until you've got this kind of a jaw, and it just allows this color slash. And if you do it where it's at an angle, you'll get these shadows. Like this one is at a nice angle, and you get these nice shadows. And if I had another Fresnel pointing in the other direction, you get two colors going on. Like right here, you've got blue going on here, and you've got pink going on here. And so not only are the colors providing a nice contrast, but you're getting two different colors going on. And a number of different producers will show, they'll do a show, and one guy, he uses all the Fresnels in here, all of them, and he puts colored gels in all of them, and he has colored lights on all of the curtains. You just walk in here and it's so pretty. So that's really nice. And this one I like. If you ever watch an old Johnny Carson, have you all seen Johnny Carson? Well, go to YouTube. Just look for a short little bit of Johnny Carson, and he did a very, very specific lighting the whole time. It never changed. And he had curtains behind him, I think when he was doing his monologue, and it was orange and then kind of a teal, and orange and teal and orange teal, and they were just lights that shone down in a column. And they were pretty nice, and that was his standard lighting. And you know, different hosts will have the lighting a little bit different, but essentially, if you're going to do a shoot here in the studio, do the colored gels. Now, some people like the Charlie Rose effect, where they don't use this curtain at all. We've got very, very dark curtains behind, and they'll do it very, very dark. Bob over here, who's running camera, he's doing a music show right now, and what he did is he had these cookies cast on the dark curtains, and the curtains absorbed a lot of the light, but they were just light enough to provide a texture behind the artist that was performing, and it looked great. So that's a pretty good thing. What else can you do? Okay, so back here we have a whole bunch of clip lights. Now when you take the camera class, you can use clip lights. And it doesn't really take any training. You can make your own clip lights if you want. You can go to Home Depot or Lowe's or Ace Hardware or Hardell's or whatever, and you can get these things. They cost a little less than $10, and you can put any kind of light bulb in that you want. any color temperature light bulb. Generally, I've been buying a lot of LED lights lately, and they come in 3 color temperatures. One is 2700 degrees, and that's a little bit somewhere in between those. Those are soft white, as they're called. And then there are others that are a little over 3000 degrees, and those are called bright white. And then they have daylight, and it's 10,000 degrees. And so it's a little bit bluer. And if you have a fixture that takes 3 lights, just get one of each. And you're covering a good part of the spectrum. And people that want these full spectrum light bulbs, and they cost $20, $30 for a single light bulb, if you're creative and you want to make something, put something together, get 3 of those lights, and you'll get the warm end of the spectrum, and you'll get the cool end of the spectrum. And the light in between should be covered fairly well, and you'll get yourself a nice bright, it'll be really bright. Anyone that suffers from seasonal affective disorder, it's this end of the spectrum that is most helpful for them. And I prefer this color just because I see better in it, and I feel better in it. So, but I don't suffer from what is it, seasonal sad? Yeah. So, I think we covered that. Are there any questions? No? Yeah? No? Yeah? Yes?
What would you recommend someone do who's filming indoors in order to get that 3-point lighting? Would you use a window, or the sunlight coming in from a window or something like that, perhaps?
A window can work really well. The only problem is that the light is going to change. If you're filming in the afternoon, the sun's going to be up over here, and there may or may not be clouds, and so the light's going to be variable. If your filming takes an hour or two, the sun's going to be over here when you're filming. So that can be an issue. It can work, and the lower the sun is on the horizon, the warmer and warmer color temperature that it gets. So that's going to affect things. But generally, folks will check out a light kit, and they'll stick one light over in the corner for their key light. They'll stick another light with a bunch of diffusion in front of it for their fill light. And then they'll take one of these, and I left this one open so I could demonstrate with it. This one, you can put your light on it, and it goes way, way up. Oh yeah, yeah. You can stick your light way up there and then stick it behind you. Or what some people do is they take advantage of the white ceiling, and they just shine the light up on the ceiling. And the reflection is really wide, it's really soft, and it lights up everything above you and behind you. So that's another way of using walls and ceilings to shine on that. A lot of times, and that's the way these parasols work, is that you literally turn the light away from the subject and shine it on the parasol, and the reflection of the parasol bounces back less direct light, but it's really nice and soft and diffuse. And a lot of small productions use umbrellas all over the place, and they use reflectors all over the place. So that works out pretty well. So these get pretty tall. The one thing that you should know about these is that they are excellent tripping hazards, right? Now with these lights on top of them, they weigh about 7 or 8 pounds. And so this is aluminum, and it's a little wiggly, and you can trip on them and knock the whole light over. And then you've got a plug. You've got the cord on it too, which also throws a monkey into your lighting wrench. And usually what I'd recommend, if you have a big old pair of boots, tie the laces together, undo some of the laces, tie the laces together, and then stick the 2 boots over top with the shoelaces or laces kind of like over top. Generally, these legs are quite small. They're not in our peripheral vision. They're easy to trip over, and that's not a good thing. So you definitely want to put an object there with some weight. We have sandbags, but we don't check them out to members. So, any couple of shoes or boots would work pretty good because you're more likely to see those as well. So those work. So, like I said, you can use a window as a light source, and that has its pros and cons because it's free and it's usually diffuse unless the sun is shining in, but the light source is going to change over time slowly, or there's going to be clouds, that sort of thing. Okay, one more thing before I wrap it up is silhouettes. Now, like I said before, there's the use of shadows. Shadows can be really, really important. Now, if I walk behind here, I get a very, very distinctive shadow. And as I move back, you'll notice how the shadow becomes more and more diffuse. And you can do shadow puppets, you can do all kinds of stuff, but the idea is that not only can you have fun, playing with the use of shadow and light and this sort of thing, you can also use this as a reflector. So I've got this over here. Let's do this. I've got this, and this is relatively, can you all see me? So it's a reflector, and then we take this and turn this on, and this will be our key light. And it's reflecting just a little, but here again, we've got this light. Actually, let me set this back a little bit. It's pretty strong. There we go. So this might be Rembrandt, where we're getting a good strong light source that is fairly sharp, and then we're getting this little bit of reflection that is coming in and filling me in. So yeah, you can use all kinds of stuff. Are there any questions? Oh, sorry. One more thing. Yes, Tom. Microphone?
Do those reflectors work outside? If I'm shooting outside, doing an outdoor scene? The green and the silver and the gold and the
Should.
blue?
They should.
What kind of effects do they have? The same effects as inside?
Well, they should, but it all depends on how cloudy or sunny it is. But reflectors are great. Usually just a white sheet of cardboard works good for a reflector. The gold will cast a warmer tone. The silver is going to reflect all the same colors, but you're going to get a little bit sharper light because it reflects. It doesn't wash out the color. It reflects directly. If I had a green light and you're using silver, it would definitely cast a stronger light source reflection. So one last thing, I almost forgot about these, are these little lights right here. I'm okay. Okay, so we have these clip lights, and I stuck in colored gels. I'm going to turn this off. Move that out of the way. So I've got a lime green colored gel here. And what I've seen, if you've ever watched interviews with people, sometimes you'll notice the background is very, very colorful. And what different people will do when they are doing a field shoot is they want something bright and warm or interesting to look at, so they will take a light and they'll take a colored gel and they will cast it in a particular direction. And if I'm standing here, I've got this silhouette thing going on right now, but you've got this light behind me that's really pretty. Now, if I want something a little warmer, I'll do that. And so I've got a little bit more of a yellow, and I can turn them both on. And then we've got that going on, and then maybe I want pink, and maybe I want some blue. So you can use these in a way. Tom does a shoot once a month, and he's done this really, really cool thing that I think is just the bomb. It's awesome. What he does is he will take our backdrops and he will place them in different locations, and then he'll take those clip lights and he will lay them on the floor with a colored gel over them and cast a color up that goes up the column, essentially up the back stand, like one of these, only a different kind. And he'll put different colors in different places. And so what'll happen is you've got a wide shot where you're looking at a wide thing. You've got your wide shot, and you'll see different colors in the background. And then you've got a camera over here, and it's doing a medium shot or a close-up or something. And there's another stand there with different color on it. And then you get another camera over here, and it's getting a different color. What that does is that creates a great deal of visual interest. And it's not boring. It's really nice. And I don't think I'd ever seen it done before. And so Tom does that. And at first I was like, whoa, that's really, whoa, I like that. That's great. So the wonderful thing about the studio is that there are no windstorms, and there's no rain, and it never gets cloudy. It does get very dark when you turn out the lights, but you have a great deal of control over the lighting, and you can use color to your advantage. And if you're not sure what you're doing, it can be a disadvantage. But by all means, I'm an artist. I love painting, and I love color. I try and incorporate every color in the rainbow in all of my art, and I love it here. So I think we are about out of time. I'm not really sure, but I think I've gone through everything that I came here to show and tell you about. If there are any other questions, I think we are done. Anyone? Anyone? Well, thank you for coming and being a wonderful, yes, golf clap. Thank you for being a wonderful audience that is very quiet, and y'all listened really nice, and I'm grateful. And my hope is that, pardon? You did so well. Oh, thank you. My hope is that I've given you some ideas, that I've given you some food for thought, that I've been your muse in a way, hopefully. And hopefully when you do a shoot in the studio someday, or you participate in one, helping someone else, that when you have a chance to do the lighting, have some fun with it. It's just sitting here not being used until you do something with it, and you can have a lot of fun. So thank you all for coming, and we will see you again next month. This show airs on Channel 77, 5 out of 7 days of the week. And we will post that in the lower thirds later in post. Okay? Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
It's the TCTV Training Show. The TCTV Training Show. We'll teach you how to shoot. We'll teach you how to light. Teach you how to mic and edit right. Each second Saturday there's a free training, from programs on display to focusing and framing. It's the TCTV Training Show. The TCTV Training Show. You're watching TCTV. It's the Training Show. The TCTV Training Show. Second Saturdays at 12 o'clock in Studio A.